Today we're taking a look at the PC dripper kit from Easy Garden Irrigation. PC dripper kit is a great starting point if you're new to irrigation or if you've just got a small area that you want to irrigate. The PC drippers within the kit are ideal for pots and small flower bed areas, delivering water exactly where you want it, which is at the root zone of the plant. So what do you get within the kit? So inside your kit, first off you'll get your installation guide. This is worth having a read. You'll get your irrigation supply pipe, and this is in the 13mm sizing, that's internal diameter. You'll get your 4mm micro pipe to join your drippers on, and you'll get your bundle of assorted fittings as well as the drippers. So inside this kit you are supplied with the Antelco Aster PC dripper. This is a fixed flow dripper, and all the drippers in the kit provide 4 litres per hour. That's going to guarantee an even flow all across your garden in all your pots and borders. Easy connection onto the back side of the dripper with the barb, and a self-flushing nozzle once it comes to the end of the cycle means very unlikely to clog. We often get asked, what does the PC in PC dripper stand for? That stands for pressure compensating, which means even with changes in pressure along your system, this dripper will always provide 4 litres per hour. That's great if you're looking for an even flow throughout the garden, even on larger projects. Also included in the kit is 10 goof plugs or blanking plugs. These are used to plug up any holes you may have made with your hole punch that actually you no longer need to use. You'll have a 1.75 kPa or 1.75 bar pressure reducer. This is to go after your timer or just after your tap, just to reduce your incoming pressure down to 1.75 bar. That means it's within safe ranges for the rest of the components. Just a quick adage, this must always go on the outlet of a timer and cannot be put under constant pressure. If you do that, it could cause damage to the pressure reducer. After the pressure reducer, we have the 13mm nut and tail. This has a 3/4 inch thread on the top, allowing it to thread onto garden taps or the bottom of irrigation timers. And then it has a 13mm barbed connector to push your irrigation supply pipe onto. When it comes to routing your 13mm pipe, you'll also be supplied with some elbows to help you make corner turns, T connectors which will allow you to split the pipe into multiple directions, and stop ends to allow you to terminate at the end of the pipe just to make sure the water doesn't come shooting out the end. In addition to those connectors, you'll also get what we call a ratchet clamp, which will let you secure the pipe securely onto the barbs. We'll show you how to use these a little bit later. To help make sure your pipe work is nice and tidy, we also include a couple of nail-in wall clips in both the 13mm and the 4mm sizing. To join the 13mm pipe and the 4mm pipe together, you're going to need to use the tube adapters, which we've included. We'll show you how to use these properly in a little bit. And just to help with your pipe work a little bit, we also include a couple of micro T connectors to allow you to split the 4mm pipe into multiple directions. So once you've unboxed your kit, you'll want to go ahead and install it. Now, we recommend you have at least some form of plan in place before you do this step. That could just be a quick drawing giving you a bit of an idea of how you're going to do the installation, but it's nice to have something to refer to. As stated before, you will get an installation guide with your kit. We're just going to cover over some of the highlights of this just to give you a bit of a visual idea of how you do some of the installation. Now, first off, what you're going to want to do is run your poly pipe around the area that you want to irrigate. Now, there are some tricks to this. You will find the poly pipe can be a little bit difficult to work with at first. So a few things we like to recommend is leaving it out in the sun for 20 minutes to an hour just to warm up. That can make it a little bit more flexible to work with. Also, we recommend when you're uncoiling the pipe that you do it in a very specific way. It's usually easier to have someone help you with this. And what we recommend is you take the pipe between your arms with the coil coming off at the bottom, and then you walk backwards, allowing the pipe to uncoil naturally as you go. If you try to pull the pipe, you'll find that it will begin to kink and you can actually damage the pipe beyond repair. So it's always best to try unroll the pipe rather than pull the pipe. As you run your 13mm poly pipe around, you may find positions where you need to install an elbow, for instance. Now to do this, first you'll want to cut the poly pipe where you want to install the elbow. Now a little trick to doing this is to use a little bit of warm water to dip your poly pipe into to help warm up the pipe before trying to push it onto the fitting. Once you've left it for 30 seconds or so, take the fitting and push it into the end of the pipe. You should find that the fitting goes all the way up to the sort of hilt section, and you know that's firmly on. After you've fitted that, you'll need to secure the ratchet clamp, which I'll show you how to do. So we've got our fitting installed into the pipe, and now we're going to want to fit a ratchet clamp. Now it's actually easier to install the ratchet clamp before pushing the fitting on. In my case, I can cheat and slide it over the end here. You want to locate the small bump that indicates where the barb is, and just above that, position the ratchet and squeeze it together until it's hand tight. You don't want to use tools for this. If you over tighten it, it can actually cause the fitting to leak rather than securing it. So hand tight, and once you're happy you can't tighten it anymore, that will be sufficient. You'll want to do this with any barbed connection, not just the elbows. And if you do that, you'll find it's a very secure connection. So once you've fitted your elbow or T-connector to your pipe, you're going to want to secure it using the ratchet clamps. Now it's usually recommended to install the ratchet clamp before pushing in the fitting. In my case, I can cheat and pop it on the other end. And what you'll want to do is just slide the ratchet clamp until it's just above where the barb is. And then you're just going to want to squeeze it together with your finger and thumb. You'll hear it clicking, that's a good sign. You just want to squeeze it until it's hand tight. No need to use tools on that. If you over tighten it, it can actually cause the pipe to oval a little, which can cause leaks around the barb. So just hand tight is more than enough, and that makes a nice secure connection. So as you're running your pipe, eventually you're going to get to a point where you're going to want to install your end stops. I would recommend leaving this till the very end, as it allows you to flush out your system. Just make sure you haven't got any gravel or old bits of plastic, anything from the installation inside of the pipe. So you want to keep these to hand, but leave them until the very end to do. Once you've run your pipe, you're going to want to connect it up to the tap or to your timer if you're using one, and that's where your pressure reducer and your nut and tail come into it. These are very straightforward. You screw one to the other. Again, just hand tight. And then you screw the pressure reducer either onto the tap or onto the bottom of the timer. If you are using a timer, you'll usually have to remove the provided connector that comes with them so that you just have access to the thread. On the bottom of the nut and tail, it's just a standard 13mm pipe connector, just like we've seen with the T's and elbows. So you follow the same process of pushing the pipe on and then securing it with a ratchet clamp. So once you've got your 13mm irrigation pipe in place, it's time to then attach your drippers. Now I've got a bit of an example pipe here, which I'm going to show you how to do it. So I've cut myself off, small length of the 4mm flexi tubing. I've got my hole punch, as well as my dripper and tube adapter. It is worth mentioning that the poly pipe that we have here, both in the 13mm and the 4mm, it's fairly soft. So you can cut that with a good pair of garden scissors or a Stanley knife. Anything with a sharp blade should cut through it. Or if you want to, you can get a dedicated irrigation install tool, which will have a cutter on it. So to install your dripper, what you're going to want to do is take a firm hold of the 13mm pipe, take your hole punch tool, and you're going to want to push down sharply and hard until the tool punches the pipe. What you want to avoid is rocking back and forth with this punch tool, because you want a nice circular hole when you make it. So now that we've punched our hole, we can take our tube adapter, and we're going to do the same thing with this. We're going to pop it into the hole, push down until it pops into place. That's now nice and secure, and you'll see it's given us a connection point for our smaller 4mm pipe. Next step is to take our 4mm pipe and just push that onto the tube adapter which we've just installed. Push it all the way down so it's nice and secure. And now we're ready to run this over to the plant or into the pot where we want our dripper. Now we want to secure our dripper, so we just locate the barbed end of the dripper and we push the 4mm pipe over the end. Again, you can warm the pipe to make this a little bit easier, as this one is quite tough. There we are, and now the dripper is secure. Once you've installed your dripper, it's just simply a case of repeating the process until all your plants have a dripper, usually within about 30 centimeters is what we recommend. As I stated earlier, this is now a good moment to install your end stops, but before doing that, I would recommend that you turn the system on for a minute or two, just to allow water to flow all the way through the system and out the end, and that'll just flush out any little bits of plastic that may be present from punching your hole, or just any debris that might have got in while you were fitting the pipe. So come the end of the year, you're going to want to protect your new irrigation system from the frost. To do this, what we recommend is removing one of the end stops that you've installed. That'll allow any excess water to drain out of the system. And then once you've done that, remove your timer or your tap splitter, store that indoors. We have other videos explaining that part. Once you've done all that, you want to make sure that you install the end stop back in and position something over the end of the pipe to prevent any bugs crawling in via the pressure reducer that could block it up for next year.